Yo, what is up, YouTube? We back with some more Monster Hunter, and this is just gonna be a quick video explaining some of the best beginner weapons and armor types to get you started in the game. So, first thing is first, we are going to be heading to the smithy, and this is basically like the most important person in all of the freaking Astera. But we'll be here. And once you complete the first beginner missions and stuff, you'll get some starting Jagras, oh, hold on. What is it called? Ah, that's what it is. Hunter, Bone, Vespoid, and Kestodon Jagras. Those are the main armors you will start with. Now, if you did not know that these are just the starter ones, so they're not that great, obviously, leather and chainmail, you could basically say they're not here. But, if you didn't know, you can select a certain armor piece by pressing the touchpad, and it'll tell you, like, what each level does. So this seems to be more, it's like a more stealthy, and being able to, you know, find more items and stuff like that. And your scout flays are obviously more upgraded. Now, the way to get more armor sets is by killing obviously more creatures. So every different creature will have, well, most of the big creatures will have their own armor sets. But in this video, obviously, I'm going to be showing you the beginner ones. So, first things first, well, taking leather and chainmail out of the equation, we have hunters. Now, hunter gear is from Jagras's, the mini Jagras's, not great Jagras's, but mini ones. And what this does, this whole set, will increase your scout flight range, increases your loading capacity for slingers, so if you're using the bows or the range weapons in the game, this could come in handy. And as you level up those skills, it will increase obviously more capacity for your slinger. It also has to do with a lot of stealth, and that also has 3 different levels to it. And this will also increase the gauge fill, so like when you find monsters, like their tracks and stuff on the ground, it'll give you more gauge as you find more. And last but not least, it makes it easier to cook raw meat and things like that on the Spitfire, if you didn't know. And that I would say is more of a long-range weapon set. So if you're starting off with long-range weapons, like I said, the bow or the slingers, definitely use this set for beginners. Now, if you're more of an attack focus, like you want to do damage dealing, I would recommend bone. Hence why I'm wearing it, because I am running the hatchets, which are some of the best damage dealing weapons in the game for quick burst damages. These we'll find just by getting monster bones, which is by bone piles and just searching the hides of dead animals. But mostly bone piles is where you get a lot of these. What these do is, first, it'll give you a nice health boost, which is perfect because you'll be up and close, so you'll have more health when you take damage and stuff like that. So it's, you have more, which is always a great thing. You have the obvious attack boost, and you will level this up all the way to 7, and you can get a plus 21 attack boost, which is just perfect. The arms will give you Slugger, which is more stun power, which makes it a lot easier to stun animals, which is just perfect. Like, it's like just a perfect combo for attacking. The other one will extend the duration of your health recovery, so like you'll get more recovery as you go on. From like there's another set of the gun, it's called like the bagpipes. It's a more support weapon. This is kind of like a throwaway trouser, but I just run it for the full set because it just looks nice, plus it's just an added bonus. But if you're a support player, these are nice things. And by the way, if you didn't know, you can mix and match, obviously. And last but not least, entomologist. So increases the chance of a corpse being left behind, which means that's easier to carve the corpses and get more supplies. So it'll give you more, which is perfect. It's just a great thing to have, because more supplies, the more armor you can create. One of your first ever investigations that you'll start getting is for Vespoids, where there's like little flies and stuff. If you shoot them with a with your slinger, they'll actually drop a body. You can get their vest void, you know, things. This is a decent set for like paralysis stuff like that. So it'll like stun enemies and make them like they can't move. That's a good stat for that. I wouldn't really recommend it for beginners because it kind of, I think the really good weapon that run with it would be the insect glaive, and it's kind of a harder weapon to get used to. Now the Cacestodon is like one of the first animals you ever find, and it only has one set to it because this is just a it's a specialty item. So essentially this will defense really good from fire, but it'll also increase your affinity for your weapons by 30% for a short time after sliding. So if you're running down a hill and you're sliding, it'll increase your damage essentially for your weapon after you just slid. So it's kind of a nice, but not too great later on game. But it's a decent starting one. Now, this I would say, besides Bone, is probably one of the greatest just overall starting, because you fight so many Jagresses, great Jagresses, sorry, in the beginning that it's just really good. So this set will give you speed eating, which is really useful because it'll help you use your items, any items, potions, powders, and things like that, really fast. So it'll like reduce the time by a lot. This will discourage monsters from attacking you. So if you need a heal, you can run away real quick, heal up, come back in the fight, use a whetstone or anything like that, and it'll like attack your Palico instead of you. These arms will increase your Palico attack and defense. So it's kind of just like a buffing your Palico perk there. Fortify. So this will increase your overall attack and defense by 50% with each use. So like the more you attack, the more it will increase, which is just a downright like great perk. And last but not least, Speed Crawler. So while you're crouching, this is kind of a throwaway. If you're more stealthy, it's good, but I haven't really used crouch that much. But if you need it, then increases your movement speed while crouching. Now, if you can like mix this set with Bone, then that's honestly some of the greatest starting armor. I'm running all Bone, like I said, because I want all the buffs that it gives me. But I'd say for beginners, Bone and Jagras are some of the best armor in the game. Now, we just looked at the armor, and I kind of explained which weapons you should use and not should use with those. So we'll look at the weapons instead. So we have the obvious, just stupid amount of weapons here. I think it's 14. Let's see. Yes, indeed, 14. So you have the 14 different types. Now, Insect Glaive is always good for, it's more of attack / try to get away weapon, because you can take less staggering hits. So like what that means is you won't get staggered as much when you get hit with an Insect Glaive, which is really useful if you're more of an attack player. Now, if you kind of want to play a more defensive type role, I would use a more heavy attack weapon since you won't be in the fight as much, which will deal more damage when you hit the enemies for the least amount of time you'll be in. Since you're not in as much, you're going to want more damage for when you do attack. So I would recommend the long swords, great swords, lances, gun lances, charge blades, switch axe, and then I'd say that's about it. Now for your long range type things, the heavy bow gun, the light bow gun, and the bow are your obvious choices. Oh, I also forgot for heavy, obviously gonna hammer, that's another big one. And for main damage, which I really recommend for beginners, is damage rolls, because it'll help you take down pretty large enemies in the beginning of the game really quickly. My number one choice is dual blades. I love them. They're really pretty simple to get used to. There's not too many combos. The only real downside to them is that they you get hit a lot because they're kind of like standstill attacks, so you can have that pretty big chance of getting hit, but I feel like that's kind of not a great or a bad thing for how much damage you're outputting with these. But Other smaller weapons, obviously dual blades, sword and shield, and insect glaive are just the best ones. And so support is only really the hunting horn. It'll just grant buffs uh, for your players and stuff like that. But if you're playing alone, then that's about really it. As for like upgrading these weapons, it's pretty simple actually. Really, it's just gonna give you like the same tree kind of as your armor. So I only have a few trees right now, which would be Ore, Kulu, Bone, Anjanath, and Gerototis. Oh, and the Tobikadachi. Now, as you kill animals, it'll unlock certain trees, but it won't show you what tree that is until you figure out all of the obvious materials you need. And now, you can see these gray lines going to the other subsections. If you want to say get the Madness Pangus 1, which is the Gerototis tree, you would have to get to Bone 2 and then not upgrade to Bone 3 because that will make you go down to the Blazing Hatchets, which I'm going for the Blazing Hatchets because I want to run a fire attack because most animals are actually susceptible to fire pretty heavily. So I'm working towards that. But say you wanted to go down, so you'd need to follow this line and stick at Bone Hatchets 2, and then you can go down to here and such forth, which is, you know, I like how they have the different trees, so you can go to like which elements you want and such. And I'd say that's really the basics to it. If there's anything I missed out, please let me know. I'm sure I missed something out because I'm still pretty early on in the game. And I hope this enjoyed. Have a great one.